Welcome to another episode of Ask the Experts. I'm your co-host, Jeffrey Walk.
And I'm Elizabeth Finlayson. We're from the networking group, TNG, which is Chicago's premier business networking group focused on helping members and making a difference in the communities we serve. Ask the Experts is an effort to share our knowledge with a wider audience.
Each week, Ask the Experts responds to questions from individuals and organizations about a problem they have faced.
We always welcome questions and feedback, and you can reach us at asktheexperts@gmail.com. That's asktheexperts, all one word, at gmail.com. On to this week's episode. All right, welcome everybody. In today's episode, we will explore the problem of caring for friends and family who are vulnerable to the COVID-19 virus. Our guest today is Michael Berliant, who runs Gentle Home Services in Deerfield, Illinois. We know that many of our listeners and followers are concerned about caring for members of their family who may be more vulnerable to the coronavirus. So we asked Michael to provide some of his expertise and share some tips.
Michael, thanks for joining us. Can you first tell us a little bit about your company and the services you offer?
Sure, Jeffrey. We are a 30-year-old company. We were started in 1990. Gentle Home Services has been providing care for seniors, mostly in their homes, but we provide care in assisted living, independent living, nursing home facilities, and like I said, primarily in their homes. It is also primarily what are known as CNAs, Certified Nursing Assistants, and caregivers. We also do have every employee is overseen by a nurse, so a nurse is assigned to each client, so they do get that extra level of skilled nursing oversight, but they're providing assistance for our clients with their what we refer to as activities of daily living. So helping somebody to take a shower or get dressed. They may need help in the morning with those activities, as well as escorts to activities throughout the day. We are, in some cases, managing medications with the nurse, and then the aide is doing what we refer to as a medication reminder to ensure that our patients get their meds at the right times. And they are also assisting with like housekeeping, they're dog walking, they are providing companionship, and we've been doing that a long time in and around Chicagoland.
Right.
That's so great. One of the things that I was wondering, and I bet this comes up for you a lot, is what are you doing right now to protect your own staff as they're going into people's homes?
Sure. Yeah, Elizabeth, that's a good question. So for us, it was a two-part thing. One was our office staff, which it's been a few months now, but mid-March, we made the decision to close our office with the stay-at-home order, and everybody had to go home, and we scrambled to get technology in place to be able to efficiently still run our office from home. Fortunately, we're now doing so and have been for some time. So one way of protecting our office staff was allowing them to stay at home and to still be able to work. The second and more critical component was for our our field staff, our people who are out in the homes and going into potentially dangerous places like skilled nursing facilities, assisted living facilities, where unfortunately COVID has run rampant. So from day one, we set some protocols that involved our caregivers taking their temperature twice daily. They are also taking their clients' temperatures twice daily, the beginning and end of every shift. They are in full PPE gear. So our staff have masks, they have gloves, they have gowns, they have face shields. In some cases, they wear booties on their feet. And we've seen a lot of pictures, and our nurses have sent us pictures as they've had to make some visits, and they look like they're wearing hazmat suits. And it has been what's necessary to protect them as well as to protect our clients. We've also taken some steps with our clients where we've had to limit visitors to those clients' homes. So we've had to take the unfriendly stance of saying, unfortunately, you can't have your son and daughter come visit you anymore like you normally would, because we were trying to limit the number of people in the home. And that's presented some different challenges for us.
Wow, that's incredible. And I feel that I'm really reassured to hear that you guys are taking that to that level of seriousness and really protecting everybody that you're in contact with.
Yeah.
Right, that's great. So when you one of the things we wanted to do is explore a little bit more about some of the challenges that folks are starting to see with the opening up of the economy and people returning. And there's a few different scenarios that come up that people are concerned about. So maybe you can help us understand a little bit more about ways you can help people.
Yeah.
First, go ahead.
As we return, hopefully, to our normal lives sometime soon, it's going to look very different. And some of the things that we've been dealing with is the ongoing shortages of some of that PPE equipment. So we are fortunate in that we've been sourcing through a number of vendors, things like masks and gloves, a lot of which we normally do provide and stock. So we were able to get some. I will say also, we've been very fortunate. The Lake County Health Department has been a tremendous resource for us. They've provided us with some of that equipment at zero cost to us. So as they've been able to get stuff, we actually will get calls every few days saying, here's what we have, what do you need? And as long as we're willing to come pick it up, it's been at no charge. So that's really helped to supplement some of the stuff that we're providing. But it's going to become a daily part of life where people are going to need masks. And as you're starting to see people getting into more fashionable, we're sticking with the old-fashioned, surgical and the N95 and the KN95s that are more necessary for close contact. But we're already seeing a lot of changes as we're starting to think about how we're going to re-enter our own offices. And we've been devising a plan. There's normally about 12 of us in the office, and how we're going to split that up amongst perhaps some sort of rotation where we won't have everyone in the office at the same time. And I think a lot of businesses are going to be faced with that reality of trying to make those kinds of changes.
Right, those are great points. When we talk about some of the scenarios that people will run into going forward, many of them have, may have vulnerable family members that have been sheltering in and very likely will have to stay that way going forward. Are there some things that they can think about in terms of ways they can care for their physical and emotional needs during this time?
Yeah, good question. We are trying to address that as well. So again, when I mentioned earlier, we've had to limit visitors. It's really created even more isolation for our already very vulnerable and isolated clientele that we service. So we've gotten a little creative. The vast majority of our employees happen to have smartphones. A lot of our clients have smartphones and other technologies. So setting up daily Zoom calls like this one and FaceTime and Skype to allow loved ones to feel somehow still connected to their mothers, their fathers, their grandparents. We've had to become sort of the surrogate in some cases where our employee is the only physical contact that senior may have for days, weeks, and months on end. So they are taking them outside when it's safe to do so in the different communities they live in for short walks and things of that nature to try to address some of the physical and the atrophy. We had a lot of clients who were going outpatient for physical therapy, a few times a week, and most of that has ceased over the last few months. So we are doing everything we can to provide some level of activity on a safe basis, as well as that emotional by helping them to stay connected with their loved ones.
Right. There's an atrophy of both the emotional side and the physical side, and
Yes,
it's important to address both.
absolutely.
So that's great. If a family member is exposed or shows symptoms, are there some suggestions on ways that we can make them feel more comfortable at home?
Yeah, unfortunately we've had some of it already. I'll say overall we've been fortunate. However, we do work in a number of facilities where they've had quite a few COVID patients. So while we are by no means the expert, we are seeing the various ways that the disease has presented itself. And while I mentioned earlier we're having our folks take their temperatures, it's not always presenting with a fever. So in some people's cases, we know it can be a cough, it can be chills, a headache. My own personally, my daughter was positive and was her only symptom, she's very healthy, and her only symptom was a loss of taste and smell. And sure enough, that was it. So I've dealt with this personally and professionally. And again, professionally, I think the things that people need to do is as much as possible, as much as we all want to be going outside on a nice day and be going back to restaurants and the places that we love to go, is to stay home and to stay separate. especially with our more vulnerable elderly population or those who are at risk.
Right. That's great advice. If a family member is admitted to the hospital and they're fortunate enough to come home, they may still be dealing with some long-term recovery, and they may have to learn to live with some kind of residual issues from this virus.
Very true.
Have you seen any of that? And is there anything that you can offer that would help them,
Yes.
get back to normality?
Thank you. We have, with a few of our patients who have been COVID positive, who went to the hospital. In some cases, they went to a skilled nursing facility for rehab. Normally, I think that rehab stay would be much longer, but it's a dangerous place for them to be, both from an exposure standpoint and from a potential to be someone who's passing on the illness. So those patients are trying to get home as quickly as they can. So we are getting calls on a daily basis. And again, we've had to set up some unusual protocols to allow us to safely care for somebody in their home. One of them we established early on was, we said if we had a person who did test positive, we weren't going to allow an employee to step into that home environment until they were 14 days post positive test result. So we are seeing patients who, as recent as 2 weeks ago, did test positive for the virus. And those that are affected, mostly what we're seeing when it comes to upper respiratory or respiratory illnesses as a result of the virus, are really facing a long recovery. As you may be hearing in the media and other places, we have a few patients now who are very compromised in terms of their breathing capabilities. And even with young people, there are stories of people in their 20s who have severe scarring of the lungs, and they're saying it could be weeks, months, and years for them to fully recover, because of the scar tissue in their lungs. So we do have resources that include things like speech therapists and respiratory therapists and physical and occupational that I think will be useful in helping people regain some of their physical strength, getting back to being as much what they were before this. And the rest is just going to take time.
Got it. That's great to know. This is so important that you offer these services, and that I think it gives people some comfort to know that there is a resource within the community that can help them through some of these issues on a personal level, on a family level. So it's great that you're able to take some time away and share some of your insights and some of the guidance. This is, thank you for your time first for today. I think, we obviously appreciate the expertise that you've provided, and we hope that our listeners will find this equally useful.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Elizabeth. It's my pleasure. And we're available. We're very much a 24/7 business, so we can be reached anytime, day or night. You can call our phone number. You can go to our website, gentlehomecare.com, and there is a COVID-19 page on our website that does have some resources available, and I'm happy to talk anytime.
Great. We'll post some of that information as well in the closing for the video for folks to reference. Thank you, Michael.
Great.
That's so great, Michael. And I want to say, I feel personally reassured when you explain all of these protocols you have and the ways that you're protecting the people that you're looking after and your staff. And so thank you for what you do. I know there's a lot of people relying on you and your company right now. So,
thanks, Elizabeth. My pleasure. Stay safe, stay healthy.
All right. Thank you.
You too. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Ask the Experts.
I'm your co-host, Jeffrey Walk.
And I'm Elizabeth Finlayson.
Don't forget to send us your questions, suggestions, or ideas. As always, you can reach us at asktheexperts@gmail.com. That's asktheexperts, all one word, @gmail.com.
Have a productive week.